Hey guys, it's Leanne. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Basically, this video is just a get ready with me where I sit down, I do this full glam makeup look, and I just talk through some tips and tricks on how to overcome heartbreak and move on. Now, at the moment, thank God, I am not experiencing any heartbreak or whatever, but I have done previously in the past. I think probably everyone in their own life has had some type of, like traumatic breakup experience. So yeah, if you're interested in this today, then obviously please stick around, keep on watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe as well to my YouTube channel if you're new here, because this channel is just basically all about makeup. I do random stuff like this, just like sit down and talk about certain topics, which this is my first one doing this, but I do actually want to continue it. So if you've got any topics that you think you'd actually like me to discuss or whatever, it literally could be anything. So yeah, if you have any recommendations, just obviously leave them in the comment section. And the last thing is, what's the last thing? Oh, and another thing to leave in the comment section is your own tips and tricks on how to overcome heartbreak. Is there anything that worked for you that you'd recommend for someone else? Because obviously heartbreak is a universal emotion. Everyone's going to feel it at some point, whether you're, a man, a woman, straight, gay, whatever. Anyway, I am just rambling on now, but you get the gist of the video. And I don't know what has actually inspired me to want to talk about this on camera, but I just don't think I've seen other YouTubers do this. I could be wrong, there could be so many YouTubers who have done videos like this. I kind of think, for me, society puts pressure on people to settle down and to be in a relationship, and I think that is part of the problem of why people are so devastated when relationships don't work out. So I think it's kind of it's just a norm to have a relationship, and we're kind of just taught that it's actually what everyone should aspire to. Everyone should want to settle down with someone, have a soulmate. It's probably made worse by Instagram and social media, because obviously you've just got access to people's lives that you never would have had previously. So you get to see other couples who obviously look the part, and it seems like they're acting the part, they're having the best time ever, but you're only getting to see their actual highlights from their relationship, not the actual, what's the opposite of a highlight? Low light. Yeah, you're not actually getting to see their bad days, but you're getting to see all the good days. So I think that is another element that adds to the pressure. It's when you go online, you just see everyone in a happy couple goals, and yeah, it just makes you feel even more insecure if you actually don't have a relationship, or if you do have a relationship and you're unhappy in your relationship. It kind of just makes you think that's the norm, that's what everyone should aspire to. So yeah, for me personally, I think that is a massive part of the pressure that people feel to have relationships. And if I look back to the age that I started dating, which is in my teenage years for me, now me looking back, that just seems far too young. That should have been the time that you're just enjoying your life, not really thinking about dating. I know sometimes you can't help it, it just happens, but in hindsight it just seems a little bit bizarre that I was dating at them ages, and in serious relationships as well. We need to normalise finding true love at an older age, because you're a lot more mature when you're older. Obviously you have a lot more wisdom, but then I kind of think, well, you probably wouldn't have the wisdom if you didn't actually go through certain life experiences like teenage relationships. So yeah, I'm a bit conflicted with that view, but basically I do think during your teenage years and maybe even your early 20s, those years should just be dedicated to yourself, finding yourself, focusing on what you want to do, traveling, not just being forced by society to kind of feel pressured to have a relationship and keep that relationship going, and then even when it's not working out you feel oh, it's a failure now, so you just bury your head in the sand even more. So I think that's where it just becomes so toxic, because people just bury their head in the sand as they don't want to look oh, I've invested a lot in this relationship and then now it's failed anyway. So I just think there's a lot of pressure within relationships anyway, but even now more so with social media. I think as well, at the same time, what's kind of happened now is relationships are harder to maintain, because now we have so much choice. So we now have so much access to people that we previously didn't have, as I've just been saying. But another thing is there's just so much temptation. You can just literally message strangers and you know, there's just so much temptation, and now the world's getting more liberal and everything, which is a good thing in some ways. It's just kind of normalised, like, people cheating on each other and just really toxic behaviour, basically. Just so easy now. Like, if you have an argument with your partner, you can just go on Facebook, Instagram, and just message, you know, someone so random. And nowadays, you might get a response. Like, years ago, probably be a bit like creepy, weird, whatever. But yeah, now you can just have access 24/7 to just like countless other partners. So yeah, I think that's kind of also affecting relationships. Like, that's why I feel like we live in a throwaway society. Like, people don't necessarily work on things anymore as much as maybe they used to. But again, I have different feelings about this. So on one hand, I'm kind of like, well, it's a good thing that people aren't forced to stay in marriages that they don't want, or, you know, they're not going to be shamed for leaving. Because years ago, obviously, if you were married and then divorced, it was like such a shame. Or if you had a child that was born out of wedlock, as they say, then you were like, oh, you know, banished from the community. So I do think that's good that all those judgmental attitudes have changed. But I do kind of think it's come at a price now, because I kind of feel like now we do live in a disposable society where people don't necessarily work on things. They just look for the next best thing rather than nurturing and cherishing what they've already got and what they've already built, sort of thing. Anyway, let's get to like the breakup part and whatnot, and how to actually just, you know, get over this, and some tips to help you heal, hopefully. So I'm just kind of going to talk about some of my own experiences and like where I've kind of formed my views from. Yeah, what happens when this person's been your whole world, it's not working out, you've invested so much time and energy into this person for it all to just like go wrong or whatever, and for you to be left really hurt. I'm sure everyone's had a breakup at some point in their life, whether it's initiated by you or whether it's initiated by, you know, the other person. You're lucky if you haven't. You're really very lucky, and very rare if you actually haven't had a breakup. So I think it kind of starts like when you're in that relationship, like you have to just make sure that you don't lose your own identity. You still have to like be your own person without the other person. Like, you should have your own friends, your own hobbies, your own interests, because obviously making that person your whole life, if anything does go wrong, it's just going to leave you so much more hurt and so much more vulnerable. I think like you kind of just have to keep your own identity and your own interests and your own boundaries whilst in that relationship. I know that that can be hard, you know, when you really do love someone. That can be really hard to like spend time away from them when all you want to do is spend your time with them. That can be hard. I'm not like denying that. And like, I'm not saying you don't have to compromise. Obviously you do have to compromise. Relationships are hard work. Even if you do have like, you know, quite a good relationship, you do still, you know, have to compromise. I just think you should keep your own identity whilst in the relationship, so then if anything does, you know, go wrong or whatever, you do break up, you'll still have your own life apart from your partner. Whereas if that person is your whole world and you don't have any friends now, you've, you know, abandoned all your friends for this person, that's going to be even more harmful to you as a person. Because obviously you need your friends when you have a breakup, or you need your family. So I'd suggest like obviously not isolating yourself from friends and family, because obviously if it does go wrong, then they're the ones who you would actually turn to for advice and support, and for someone to like lift you up or whatever. And then another piece of like advice that I think is like good for if you've just had a breakup is just like read some, if you're unsure about the breakup, like, you know, some people have like, you know, partners leave them totally unexpectedly, and that can leave people like traumatized. But obviously you don't want that trauma to follow you into your next relationship. So if you're all confused and you feel like you don't know what happened, you didn't see it coming or whatever, maybe like read up on some books. There's so many books out there that are obviously, you know, based on psychology of relationships, and I do find reading stuff like that very interesting. Yeah, when I went through a difficult breakup, it was a really hard one. I picked up this book, but obviously at the time I was with my boyfriend and I didn't think it was going to end. I kind of didn't see it coming. Once we did end, I was like, right, I'm going to start reading this book now. It was literally such a life-saving book for me, and helped me to feel so much better about myself, because it explained so many things about society and where all this pressure to make a relationship work comes from, and how harmful those like ideals are. So maybe do some reading, do a little bit of research to maybe understand yourself better for your own future like relationships, or even if you're not planning on having a future relationship, obviously it's just good to understand yourself a little bit more anyway. Yeah, so summer 2021, I remember reading 2 relationship books, and one of them was all about attachment styles. I think it was literally called Attached. I'm going to show you that as well. I found that really helped me just to understand a lot of like behaviour that I maybe didn't recognise at the time what it was, but some of it did boil down to like attachment styles. And it, you know, it can't do you no harm to educate yourself on actually people's attachment styles and, you know, the psychology of relationships. I think it can only help, sort of thing. Now, another tip that I always like use if I'm ever feeling down, not just about relationships or anything like that, just generally if I ever feel like not myself, if I feel a bit negative, I have this book called The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. I'm sure like probably most people have heard of this now, and I just like to dip into that when I'm feeling down, as it just does make me feel so much better. So reading something that makes you feel good, or even watching something that makes you feel good, is always a good thing. That book is just about basically having a positive mental attitude and how much that can give you the life of your dreams, basically. And it is something that I've seen personally work in my own life. I wouldn't say life of my dreams, I wouldn't say that yet, but you know, I have seen like certain things that I've wanted, I've been able to manifest. So yeah, I actually would recommend anyone who hasn't read The Secret to have a little read of The Secret, because it's such a uplifting book, basically. Another thing as well that I found helped me, do you ever feel like if you went somewhere with that person, like a restaurant or, you know, some of their favourite songs or whatever, it kind of just will always remind you of them? So I kind of had like this anxiety / dread about like where me and my ex used to go for dinner and stuff, and the music he'd listen to, I was like, oh, that reminds me of him. I wouldn't want that song on in the car because it reminded me of him and stuff. But then I kind of like want to just reclaim like certain restaurants. So for me personally, I kind of wanted to like go back to certain restaurants, but I was like, oh, I've been there with him and it's just now a negative experience. It's going to bring me back to like when we were together. But so what I started to do was go back to the same restaurants, but I'd be with like a friend this time. And then obviously it now has a positive spin on it. So I didn't like know that this was like a thing, but I was telling my friend about it, and apparently it's called reclamation or reclamation, where you like reclaim, you know, your own memories, your own life, sort of thing. So yeah, that's something that I've found helped me, going back and putting a positive spin on things that reminded me of him. But yeah, I didn't actually know that that was a thing. I thought that was just me being weird doing that. I was like, to my friend, I was like, is that a bit like weird? Have you ever heard this before? And she's like, she said she does it too. So I was like, oh my god, no wonder we're friends. But yeah, so another thing that's worked for me as well, which I think is such a positive thing to do, is just to take advantage of doing things that you couldn't do when you were in a relationship. So whether that is like spending more time with friends, or, you know, going to the gym a lot more, or maybe taking up a hobby that maybe you didn't have time for before because your efforts were on your relationship. I think just like taking advantage of opportunities that you maybe wouldn't take if you were in a relationship. Another example could be maybe going travelling on your own, or going travelling with friends when you're in a relationship. You know, maybe you can do them things when you're in a relationship, but most people I've found kind of don't, because obviously, you know, at some point you do kind of prioritise your own relationship. You should just make the most of that time, because there probably will be a time in future where you are in another relationship and you might look back and think, I should have used that time better to actually focus on yourself and maybe tick off a few things off your bucket list, or just achieve some goals, basically. And then by doing that as well, I feel like, again, that is putting a whole nother positive slant on, you know, being single and being without that person. I think like that'll keep you busy as well if you're actually focused on your own goals, your own life, making it the best it can be with or without a partner. I think that is like so important and empowering. I'm sure like most people would feel good doing that. Tying into that point is just to keep busy as much as you can, because I think when you're sat in the house you just get to overthink, and then that obviously leaves you feeling worse. You're probably already feeling down. But don't get me wrong, you do need time to process your emotions, and I'm not saying like, you know, run away from them, but I just think, you know, be on your own for a little bit, that's fine, but then, you know, at some point you do have to be proactive and, you know, actively do things that will make you feel better about the situation. So keeping busy, I'm sure most people would agree, is a big one in, you know, dealing with the breakup of a relationship. And talking about it as well, like to friends, or, you know, just having time to process your own emotions, I think that can help definitely as well, because, you know, bottling everything in like is just never good really anyway. And just maybe hearing someone else's opinion from an outsider's point of view. I think that's always good, because I think sometimes what human beings do is like, even when you know someone else is in the wrong, you'll always second guess yourself, especially when it's ended. No one likes rejection, obviously, and I think it just like makes you second guess yourself and makes you lose your self-esteem, your confidence, and obviously that's what breakups can do. I think it's nice sometimes to just hear an objective perspective and to hear what they would do in the situation or how they would handle it, or sometimes to even hear just like a little bit of praise for how you're handling it. It's just sometimes like what you need to hear sort of thing when you are going through a breakup. Listening to their advice can sometimes make you know what you want to do, if that makes sense. Sometimes I'll ask a question. For example, I am a asshole. Have you seen that meme thing? An asshole, someone who asks you what to do and then does the opposite anyway. Just let's use fashion as an example. If I have like a pink top and a blue top, and then I'll say like, well, which top do you like better? If someone says blue, I'll straight away be like, no, pink, or vice versa. I'll know which one I want to go with. So just by them saying the opposite, that's which one I know I want to go with. So like hearing someone else say something, like your first knee-jerk gut reaction is like what you actually want to do sort of thing. So yeah, that's why I think it's good to talk to people as well, because it can help give you some clarity. I do consider myself quite wise. I have all the advice. Maybe I just can't follow it myself, but I do have generally good advice for other people. So keeping busy is key. Spending time with people who support you, like no matter what your decision, like you need to have people around you who actually support you and are willing to listen to your drama, even if it has been, you know, 7 breakups in. Or it's still good to have someone to just listen to you, hear you out, and not get bored of like listening to you and helping you sort of thing. I think as well, having a positive mental attitude, kind of looking at it as like whatever's meant to be will be sort of thing, is quite helpful, because when you just go over and over and over things of why it didn't work out, what could be different, the fact is it weren't different, and that's the reason, you know, one of the reasons why obviously, you know, we're in this position now of being broken up. And I think a key element is not to romanticize the relationship. Like, take the relationship for what it was. Clearly there must have been maybe some problems or some signs leading up to it or whatever. Don't paint your partner in a different light. Like, if they were toxic, if they were, you know, negative and negative influence on you, just don't try and repaint them in a different light, because sometimes that's what our brains do. Once we've split up with someone, we kind of look back and think the good things that you do miss about them, and that can obviously, you know, set you back emotionally. Like, you need to keep reminding yourself, actually, there is a reason why we did split up, and maybe keep reminding yourself of the reasons why sort of thing. Because I think I've definitely done that. I've definitely looked back, you know, at certain situations and thought, if this was different, but then I have to be like, but it wasn't different. So, you know, that's why we're here now. And obviously during the relationship, you know, there probably would have been chances and opportunities for you where you've probably said to that person, you know, you need to change this or whatever, you need to compromise on this, and clearly for whatever reason they didn't. Don't like let your mind do that to you. Any breakup's hard, because at one point that relationship was exactly what you wanted. Just like accept it for what it is and use that to enable you to move on in yourself. When I had a breakup, a bad one, I was like quite hurt and stuff, and then I knew it was over, that was it, I was done, I weren't going to take him back for whatever reason, but I was still like quite upset. But anyway, basically what I used to do, which I didn't know this was a technique as well, which I thought this was negative, but actually it's definitely what helped me to overcome the breakup. So I kind of just reminded myself of the bad things and the reasons why it didn't work. Like, if I found myself in my own head being like, oh, you know, like, this was amazing, this was good, I'd just bring myself back to, but actually this was bad, and it was bad enough to split up. So, you know, it can't have been that good, basically, because we'd still be together if it was. But then obviously that does make you feel negative, thinking of the bad stuff, but actually it kind of, you know, strengthens you to be like, right, I wouldn't want to go back to that, because it wouldn't work out anyway, because it didn't. And, you know, all the negativity that you went through, it's not like really worth it. The book I was reading, which was called Attached, that had a lot of links to other, you know, resources to look at. So it suggested this blog. So when on this blog, it was basically like the best methods to help you overcome a breakup. And that was one of the methods. It was like, there's a word for it, there's a term for it, but I've totally forgot what it was. But basically, in a nutshell, it was like, reminding yourself of the negative about the person will actually help you to get over that person. If you like tell your brain what to think, it will just think it. You know, that's the power we have over our own minds. Like, we can control our thoughts to a certain extent. The first book that I read just after this breakup that, like, you know, I was quite hurt about was a book called The Unexpected Joy of Being Single, and it really helped me to understand like quite a lot about relationships, and the book actually moved me to tears. Now, I'm not really like a tearful person or whatever. Oh, another tip that I've got as well, which I just do this in life generally, not just about breakups, is I just kind of think, be kind to yourself. Kind of treat yourself as if you would treat a friend. You know, if one of your friends came to you and had the problems that you're currently having now of maybe struggling to get over someone or move on, like what would you tell a friend? And usually the chances are you'll tell them something positive, productive, kind and helpful, rather than something negative. Like, you're more willing to tell yourself that, because like we are so self-critical, and that's how we're taught to be in society. We're not really taught to, like, you know, big ourselves up or whatever. We're always told to be humble and like put other people first. But yeah, I kind of think you have to treat yourself as a friend. Also as well, I know it's bad because, you know, your worth is not in your looks at all, but I think sometimes after a breakup, it can just be nice to treat yourself to like maybe new hair extensions, or depending on what age you are, maybe Botox, or just something that'll make you feel better about yourself. I know it's bad because it's all based on appearance, but women always seem to lose weight after they have a breakup, you know, whatever. They seem to like just focus more on themselves, which is a positive thing. So yeah, you know, everyone's self-esteem takes a little bit of a hit after the breakup, obviously. So yeah, if there's something that you can do for yourself to make yourself feel better, whether that's like a hairdresser's appointment, you know, getting your makeup done, going out with your friends, I'd say just do that. It's only going to help you feel better. Kind of think I'm running out of tips now. Positive self-talk as well actually just came to mind. Like, the way you speak to yourself is so important. If you're always putting yourself down, you're going to feel so low about yourself, and it's going to probably stop you from moving on and affect your confidence in your next relationship. Whereas if you actually have a positive voice in your own head and a positive self-image, I think that like that just doesn't allow you to bring yourself down all the time. You know, we are only human. We all do feel bad about ourselves from time to time, but it is important to try and be more kinder to yourself and think about yourself in a bit more of a positive way. Maybe write down things that you like about yourself, whether that's physical qualities, you know, emotional qualities. You know, are you an amazing friend? Are you like very hard work? And just write down all the good things about yourself. Even though it might seem a bit like weird at first, like we're always, you know, we're the first ones to point out our own negatives. So I think doing something like that, especially after a breakup, put things in perspective basically is what I'm trying to say. And just taking time to do what feels right. Like, don't feel pressure to go out and move on straight away. If you need time to process and heal, just do with what feels right to you. Sometimes people will give you advice, you know, will very well mean an advice, you know, they mean it well, they mean it to help you, but you know, you might not want to just go out and move on just like that. Like, it might take you time, and you're entitled to that time. Just kind of stay true to yourself and do for you what feels right, basically. There's nothing worse than if you're already feeling emotionally vulnerable and fragile, and then you just go and take someone else's advice and do something that you later regret or think that was the wrong choice for you. You're already probably feeling down. So yeah, I think, you know, just listening to yourself and putting your own voice first is, you know, so important. As well, you know, before I was saying about like motivational speeches, well, I've listened to a few TED Talks. I did watch one last year about relationships and stuff, and that was recommended in the same book again, the Attached book. That's like a good thing to do. Watch it on YouTube if you read is not your thing. I know I've recommended a lot of books today, and I understand that some people just do not read. That's fine. You know, you can watch videos. There are other things you can do. Like, if you're out driving in the car, if you think I haven't got time to be, you know, listening to motivational speeches, like, you can make the time. Literally, I sometimes used to put TED Talks on just like in the car, and I still do, because I know time is a big thing that people always chase. We've never got time, but like, you just have to make time sometimes. If you want to feel better, you kind of do have to like make the time for it. That's how I found time in my life. It was like multitasking. I was driving to work, I'd have like, you know, YouTube on in the car, like I just said. Do you know what as well, this is just like a side note, not really like related to the video. Like, I haven't filmed YouTube for ages because I've been so busy, and it just feels so good to just be coming back on YouTube and doing something like this, just something different, because I'm kind of out of inspiration for tutorials, and it is really hard to get your video ranking really high on YouTube for makeup, because there's so many other YouTubers out there, and all the new makeup obviously gets sent to the biggest YouTubers, and then when a smaller YouTuber like me does a video, it just doesn't rank in the top like pages or whatever, so people don't find it. So I'm kind of a bit like disheartened with that. That's why I kind of want to just try something new on this channel, and let's just like hope for the best. I hope, you know, that everyone does enjoy this. Also as well, this has just came to me now, it's like probably one of the most biggest things for me personally to get over someone and move on. Like, cut contact with that person. I can't believe I haven't mentioned this already, but yeah, cut contact with that person, because obviously it's not going to do you no good staying in contact, especially when you know it's over, it's ended. And another thing I've just remembered is taking each day as it comes, not worrying about the future. Like, will you find someone else again? You know, will you get back with your ex or whatever? Just like literally take each day as it comes. Like, plan your day out in advance, like to keep yourself busy, and just like focus on one day at a time, and just try and think like, right, today's just a day, I can get through this day, you know, I'll worry about tomorrow's such a good attitude to have. And I find that when you live in the moment like that and you just focus on the actual day, you can kind of enjoy the day more, even if you are going through a rough time, because you're just focusing on that day. You're not sitting in thinking, oh my god, what if I never find that connection with a new person, or, you know, I can't be bothered going on dating apps now because, you know, it's going to take me a long time, whatever. So if you just don't think about the future, the past, just focus on the present, I found that that is like so helpful in overcoming any anxieties you might have or any worries you might have about the breakup. So the book that I was referring to was Catherine Gray, The Unexpected Joy of Being Single. Honestly, life-changing, this book. And it's kind of like autobiographical. She's kind of talking about her own life and her own past relationships and what she's learned. So yeah, that's all contained in here, all her wisdom. And yeah, it's quite a funny read as well. It does make you laugh as well, which is what you kind of need as well when you are feeling down or heartbroken. And then the second book on it was this one. So this is the attached one that I was saying. And that is by Dr. Emile Levine and Rachel S.F. Heller, MA, which I think, I don't know what that stands for. So this is just about attachment types, but it really helps you to understand relationships and people's behaviour. And there's a quiz in here as well to help you determine what attachment style you are. There's 3 different types, main types of attachment. So there's anxious, avoidant and secure. So definitely recommend you go out and, you know, purchase those if you are struggling at the moment, especially this one. This one was really uplifting and made me feel like so positive. So yeah. Okay, so now we are at the very end of the tutorial, and I've kind of noticed on YouTube when I do, say, like videos where I'm just comparing one product and I've already got the rest of my face done and I've got like a full face of makeup on, someone will always write in the comment section, what lip combo have you got on, what eyeshadow, what foundation, and I've just forgot, like, because I didn't link it, which is like, yeah, not very good of me. So I'm going to start like just listing through the products I've used now in case anyone is wondering what foundation I've got on, what blusher. I'm just going to whiz through them so quick. So if you're not interested in staying for that part of the video, then obviously stick around for that. Or if not, just like fast forward to the very end. Here goes. So for foundation, I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Complete Foundation, and my shade is Barcelona Medium 4. When I put it on, it was clearly a bit too dark for me. It's not true to my skin tone. Before maybe someone comments and says, oh, it's the wrong foundation shade. I get that it is a bit dark, but I like that look. I've gone for a bronzy look today and I think it looks nice. I've went in today with the L'Oreal Triple Active Day Cream, that's the moisturise. I went in with the e.l.f. Matte Putty Primer after the moisturiser. To cream contour, I used the Mitchell or Made by Mitchell blush in the shade Caramel Chisel. Actually used the Made by Mitchell blush in the shade Sweet Cheek, so that's just a liquid blush, one of my favourites. Like, look how pigmented that blush is. It lasts literally all day as well. And then I went on top of the Mitchell blush with the NARS Orgasm blusher, and that gives that like goldeny pink glow to the cheeks. For mascara today, I've used the Maybelline Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara. I love this because the wand is so flexible, it's so bendy, you can get like right in there and really wiggle it on the eyelashes, so use that today. Now for a colour correcting concealer, I've used the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer Satin Finish, and this is in the shade Light Sand. So that's more of a peachy tone shade, as you can see, it's more peachy, I think you can see on camera. And basically that's like going to correct any blue under the eyes. So I use that under the eyes to counteract any blue bags. And then I went over with a lighter concealer just to brighten up the under eye area. So the next concealer I went in with was the Rimmel London Multitasker Concealer, and that is in the shade 40 Ivory. For powder, under the eyes and around the face, I use the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder. My shade is Pound Cake. Yeah, I don't think I've ever used a better powder. For highlight today, I went in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit in the shade Sugar. So I just used a combo of all 4 shades to achieve this glow. So on top of the highlight, I went over with the Morphe Luminous Setting Spray and then waited for that to dry. And then I went over with the Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb How Many Carats. I've used the MAC Dark Deepest Mineralised Skin Finish. So that's one of my favourite bronzers as well. I've used that today. That's what I've used to contour and bronze today. And lips, how can we forget lips? For lips today, I've used the Morphe Sweet Tea lip liner, and then I went on top of that with the Elf cream lipstick. So they're literally £3, and I would definitely recommend these. They're so good. So that's in the shade Cream. And then I went on top of that with the Collection Gloss Me Up lip gloss in the shade Pink Fizz 5. For eyes, I've just literally used a little bit of a bronzer. So I went in with the Maybelline Fit Me bronzer, and that was shade 350 Caramel, and I just packed that on top of one of the Primark shadow duos. So I used the matte side, went on the eyes, blended it out as you've seen, and that is in the shade Double Date. And then I went on top of that with the Maybelline powder, and then all I done was literally add a little bit of the Peaches and Cream Dynamite pigment to give this shimmer along the lash line. Applied lashes. These are the Beth Bender Beauty lashes, and they are in the style Bernadette. I hope that this little extra bit of the video was actually worth it, because I actually feel so guilty when someone asks me what's on your eyeshadow, what looks this, what foundation. I'm like, oh, I haven't got a clue. So I use that many different products, so that's why I've done that today. So I hope that was useful for everyone. But yeah, okay guys, so that is the full and completed finished video. God knows how long the tutorial is at this point. I'm just doing the outro now. I've literally been filming for about an hour and a half, but obviously I'm not going to do an hour and a half video. I don't think I'm that entertaining. But yeah, let me know if you did like the video by hopefully liking the video, subscribing and commenting in the comment section. And like I said, leave your own tips and tricks or book recommendations in the comment section. Like, we can all help each other, we can all learn from each other, sort of thing. But above all, let me know if this was like useful, and if you want me to do something like this again, recommend a topic in the comment section. So I just need to say thank you so much for sticking around to the very, very end. I really do appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in my next tutorial.